Merhabalar, hepiniz hoş geldiniz. I Saw Black Glass'ın ikinci bölümüyle karşınızdayım. Yani aslında evet birçok eksik var. Sahnelerdeki kesinmeler biraz sıkıntılı. Ama beni sardı oyun ya. Yani bilmiyorum, ben oynarım. Neyse bir ikinci bölümle devam edelim yolumuza.
It's Christina, isn't it? How can I be of help?
There are a few things I wanted to ask you.
Well, after a bereavement, people often want answers.
Emily sorunlu biriydi. Niye diyelim abi? Bu ne? Öyle cümleye mi girilir?
I just wanted to better understand what happened.
Yani sorunlu birinden çok bir şeyler kızı rahatsız ediyor gibi.
Guilt is very common.
Emily talked about seeing ghosts here in the village. And it's something that I've experienced as well.
It's very common after a death like this to have such experiences. Even for those that don't believe in the paranormal.
İkna etmeliyiz. Peki niye ikna edeceğiz ki?
I thought that too, but this is something different.
Maybe it has something to do with the story of Agnes.
Agnes ne abi?
Agnes.
It's a local legend. It dates back to the 18th century.
Anlat Hacı dayı anlat.
She was a maid who worked in the Lord's estate. Her parents brought her over from Sweden when they came to work here. The story goes that she had an affair with the Lord. When she fell pregnant, he was horrified that she wanted to legitimize the relationship. It was all very different back then, of course.
Ya, kimse ona yardım etmemiş mi ne ya?
So what did she do?
Well, when she refused to back down,
Sadece kovmuş mu yani?
It was very cruel. Her parents weren't around for her, and as a single pregnant woman back then, your choices were very limited. Out of options and without any hope, she threw herself into the lake on the Lord's estate, drowned herself and the unborn child.
Bir annenin bunu yapma ihtimali çok düşük bence. Kesin o Lord şerefsizi boğdurmuştur.
Thanks, son. Bye. Not exactly. It's said that she cursed the area with her death, and that her spirit returns to taunt young women into taking their own lives. It's all nonsense, of course.
Peki intiharları nasıl açıklayacaksın Keltoş?
But there are more suicides here than normal.
Some areas are more prone to this than others. The sad fact is, suicide hotspots occur more often than you'd think. And having a local legend like this only adds to the problem and plays into people's neuroses. Doesn't help that Alexander keeps talking about it. He's the Lord's descendant.
He lives here in the village.
Hadi gidip bir de onunla konuşalım.
The estates had the same family and for hundreds of years. I wouldn't recommend talking to him about this. It's not the kind of thing you want to hear when you've just lost a friend in the way that you have. It can be a little bit grumpy too.
Gideceğiz konuşacağız abi, sen boş konuşma da. Tamam, Lord'un torunu Goç mu kullanıyor ha? Bulamamış bir Audi 8.
Hello, Alexander.
Yes, what do you want?
I believe I met a colleague of yours today, Dominique. She mentioned to me that you worked at the clinic. I was hoping I could ask you some questions.
Very well. Come in.
Thank you.
Dayı tipik huysuz ihtiyarlara benziyor zaten.
This is my friend Emily. She passed away recently.
Yes. I was at the clinic when your friend was there, but purely in an advisory capacity. I couldn't comment on her treatment.
Danışman.
Advisory at the clinic?
Yes, I retired as a surgeon many years ago, but I would be called back to advise the psychiatric team from time to time.
Why did the clinic close?
No. Series of patient disappearances. Suicides. Over the years it led to its closure.
Başka bir şeyi kurcalamaya gerek yok.
I spoke to the vicar, and he told me the story of Agnes.
That man's a fool. He believes in God, but doubts the existence of evil. Ridiculous.
So you believe there's some truth in this curse?
Oh, yes. This house has been under dark clouds for hundreds of years. Ever since my ancestor foolishly impregnated that stupid maid.
Ya onu hiç gördünüz mü deseydik ya. Tek başına mı yaşıyorsun? Ne alaka?
Do you live here on your own?
Now, yes. My wife left years ago. I would have gone too if I hadn't have believed that I would have taken the curse with me.
You believe the curse would follow you?
Oh, yes. Just as I'm sure I drew it to the clinic.
Oo, dayı çok güzel dökülüyor. Her şeyi anlatıyor.
It's an angry spirit. It preys on those who are emotionally open to it.
Bakalım görmüş mü? Bir de onu soralım.
Have you seen her?
Of course. She haunted this house for years.
Hatta şu an
burning the
arkanda.
life out of anybody who lived under its roof. Yeah. The good Reverend hasn't told you the full story, has he?
Bir de
My
sizden
ancestor
dinlesek.
was an arrogant man. He was also stupid. A man in his
Bu dayıyı
position
sevdim ben.
never have gone near one of his domestic staff. I mean, a maid, for goodness sake. I suppose her being Swedish must have added an air of exoticism.
Dayı tuttuğu yerde kıstırmış vallahi hizmetçi. Tabi bu da kıskanmıştır şimdi. Hani bana demiştik. Dayı karşında genç bir kız oturuyor. Bu kadar da detaylı anlatmana gerek yok yani.
Of course, the inevitable happened. Usually these things are handled discreetly, but for some reason she thought he would acknowledge her as the father of her child. A preposterous idea back then. She had to leave, of course.
How can you do this to me? How can you do this to me? I am your child. Okej! Jag går! Men jag hatar dig för att göra handen! Förbanna dig och ditt hus!
Vallahi lanetledi orada. Ne dedi bilmiyorum ama lanetledi kesin.
The other staff turned their backs on her. Nobody in the village would help. Quite alone, with no family to turn to, she was left with almost no choice.
İnsanoğlu ne kadar acımasız ya. Ne kadar kötüyüz ya.
They say that a soul that dies in a state of rage leaves a curse. Well, Agnes cursed us all that day.
So people believe these deaths were because of her?
Records in this house were very carefully kept. Particularly so on an estate so heavily reliant on agriculture. The phases of the moon were noted. Agnes's death was remarked on at the time because of the blood moon that appeared in the sky on the night of her death.
Kanlı ay varsa olay değişir.
Indeed. 2 years on, and Agnes was barely remembered until the next blood moon appeared in the sky. That night, a maid in the house swore she'd seen Agnes on the stairs, whispering to her. The days went on, and she became more and more hysterical, claiming she heard Agnes speaking to her wherever she went. The next morning, the estate steward found the maid hanging from a tree. After that, we grew to fear the appearance of a blood moon.
Even now?
Let me show you something.
Dayı gayet net vallahi, çatır çatır anlattı her şeyi.
Out there used to be the outbuildings that the servants lived in.
What happened?
I had it burned to the ground. When one of the servants started complaining about a woman who'd be seen in the building at night, I'd finally had enough.
Onu yaktırdınız mı diye sorduk zaten. Niye aynı şeyi bir daha
So you
soruyor?
set it on fire?
Fire was the only way to drive her out. The vicar's predecessor was very helpful in this matter. He was a far more enlightened man.
Kasabada tekrar
But
görüldü
has she
mü?
been seen in the village?
Oh, yes. By the lake where she died. I really don't recommend you go there.
I just want to know if she had anything to do with what happened to my friend.
Look, I hope you find your answers. But if I were you, I'd leave this accursed place.
Dayı çok mantıklı konuşuyor bence. Ama biz kaşınıyoruz yani. Öyle bir ihtimal yok. Gitme gibi bir şey yok. Ya kızım, bir gündeme halledeceksin her şeyi. Git bir dinlen birazcık ya. Bizim burada kalmamızı isteyen diğer sarışın arkadaş nerede?
Hello? Anybody here?
Nereye geldik şimdi ya? Ben kaçırdım herhalde. Göl muhabbeti yaptık. Burası neresi? Hayda. Sola gideceğim lan yine. Ormanda gittiğimiz gibi gidelim. Way out. Bacım bura nire? Soldan devam edeceğim abi. Oyun boyunca sağ sol seçenek gelince sol. Ne oldu orada, bir bok yok, sağ tarafa mı gidiyor yani? Gerilim geliyor. Abi niye geldik buraya bilmiyorum ki, niye çıkayım yani. Bakmaya devam edelim. Kaşınıyorum çünkü ben. Kaşınıyorsak hakkını verelim bari. Lan o su şişeleri ne oğlum, her camın önünde var. Kesin bir şey olacak. Dedim. Bu arada durumumuz ne, bir ona bakmak istiyorum. %85 kabul, %30 suçluluk, %25 inkar. Dürüstlüğümüz zirvede. Güç, ahlak, nezaket, iç gözlem. Christina topuk yapıyor. Hadi canım. Asma yaprağı. Oy oy oy oy oy oy. Bak lan bak. Bak da gör, biz gördük. Altına sıçıver. Lan biz niye bunu görmeye buraya geldik? Hadi canım. Haksızlık ama bu ya. Ne oldu birden gaza geldi bu? Oha. Evet, git git yaklaş. Nereden çıkıyorduk? koşmanın ne mantığı var? Hayal et lan onu. İsterse tık diye çıkar önüne. Bak cama bak.
Oi! What's your game? You shouldn't be here. This is a closed site.
Yok arkadaş, hayalet dersek bu bizi alır götür. Deli diye.
And what did you think you were doing, wandering about like that?
My friend was a patient here. I just wanted to see it for myself.
I don't think so. Well, this place has been closed more than 20 years.
No, she was here 2 years ago.
This place was closed up after the fire broke out on the ward. They moved all the mental stuff to some other place.
Dayının oyunculuk süper. Nefis. Şunca makyaj yapıp yatmak da. Alexander'a gidek oğlum. Papazımızın bir bok bildiği yok. Alexander güzel dökülüyor bize. Alexander'ı bulabileceğiz mi acaba? Aha bulduk. Ama dayı sanki bu sefer yine ne var? Hadi gel bakalım. Gel de anlat ne gördün.
I'm sorry. I had to know if you know who this is.
Bu kim lan?
Yes, this is Lucy. Unfortunate girl went missing from here a few years ago now.
Aa o şeyde
to be precise.
düşen diyor. O muydu?
Do you know why?
I have no idea. You could try talking to her father, Matthew.
Ya bu dayı bizi güzel yönlendiriyor.
But I really wouldn't advise it.
Why not?
It left him in a certain
Biraz delirtti.
fragile state. He lives on his own now.
Bir şey söyleme ne oğlum, teşekkür edelim. Öküz müyüz? Adam o
Thank
kadar
you.
yardım ediyor.
You should stay away from this. No good can come of it. Your friend is gone. There's nothing you can do about that.
I just need to know the truth.
There are some answers you should not be looking for, Christina.
Dayı vallahi süper ya. Bak birisi yorumlarda oyunculuklar berbat demişti mesela. Şu adam daha nasıl bir oyunculuk göstersin? Oscar almayacak sonuçta. Hani kıytırık 3 kuruşluk bir oyun için şey yapıyorlar. Nasıl bir beklentiyle oynuyorlar oyunları anlamıyorum.
Hello, Matthew?
It is. What can I do for you?
We were wondering if we could talk to you about your daughter.
Dayı hiç de hassas değil de daha böyle coşkun
I suppose you better come
bakışlar
in then.
sergiliyor. Sanki hoş geldiniz. Bir buyurun içeri bir bakalım bir.
Our friend recently passed away, and we felt that it might have something to do with what happened to your daughter.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear about your friend, but I can't see what it would have to do with Lucy.
Our friend Emily had an interest in what happened to your daughter. She had a photo of her.
Why would she be interested in someone who ran away from home?
Are you sure that she ran away?
Oh, of course I am. What else would have happened?
Did she
Oğlum biz
talk about
gerçeği
anything strange
söylersek bu adam
before
bizi
she ran
kovar
away?
bence direkt ya.
Look, I don't see
Delirmişsiniz
why I need to
sizler.
talk about this.
Açık olacağım lan. Kovacak bizi ama açık olacağım ya. Kovacak
If you
bizi.
haven't heard from her in this long, do you not think that something else might have happened?
No, she's somewhere. Look, I don't know where, and for whatever reason, she doesn't want to talk to me yet. But I'm sure she'll call soon enough. Look, in my heart, I know she's fine.
Have you never thought that maybe she's not coming back?
Wasn't that bloody vicar? She is coming back. She's fine.
I don't think that's what she meant.
Look, I want both of you out of my house now.
Ben olacağı söyledim abi.
That could have gone better.
Bence de. Ağzından laf
Go on,
olabilirdi.
say it.
What, that sometimes it's better to let me do the talking?
Don't you think he was a bit of a creep? The way he was looking at us.
Yeah, you managed to get a lonely guy to chuck 2 women out of his house. Quite an achievement.
Shut up. Besides, I've got an idea.
Ya. Ilıman olarak sen yeniden bir git bakalım. Arkadaşımın söyledikleri
Hi.
için
Sorry, I thought I
kusura
should come and
bakmayın.
apologise for my friend's behaviour. Do you mind if I come back in?
All right, come on then.
Kızım bu iş iyi değil bak söyleyeyim. Derken bölümü burada kesiyoruz. Dizimizin 3. bölümü bakalım nasıl sürecek. İzlediğiniz için teşekkür ederim. Kendinize iyi bakın. Hoşça kalın.